So while he walks in and sits in this very chair here, I'd like to say thank you for everybody joining us. Thank you, Alicia. Yes, the show that this will be aired on is, of course, Close Look. Don't worry, Dustin, I can't see you. Is on Close Look on Shaman Culture channel. You could also see me just interview. We just finished filming prior to this. You will see him on Omni also. Check your local listings. I know it airs on Saturday between the hours of like 5 and 7 p.m. So that's about all I can say about that. Now, with that being said, I'm going to transition here and say, hello, Shenan. If you want, you could put on the headphones. I should have said that before.
Thank you very much for having me.
You can move that mic too. I don't know why everybody comes to it. You can move it.
Cool.
You can move it if you want. Yeah, bring it to you. Just shove it in your face. Dustin didn't take the laptop. That's kind of hurts my feelings.
You know, I can still take it if you want me to.
Take it. Take the. Sorry, Shenan. We're gonna let Dustin take the laptop. Okay. I had a button come undone. As he breaks my monitor. All right. If you have questions, please. He's a motivational speaker. He's the man. You could hear right on your headphones. Yeah. Okay. All right. Shenan, let's start off by just tell us who you are.
Who I am. Well, I don't even know who I am. No.
Interview. We are good. Happy. Thank you for. No, go ahead.
I work as a coach. My name is Shenan, as you said. Am I looking in a certain camera, by the way? Am I looking at?
It's just one camera.
Okay.
I don't know what other camera you're looking at, but that's
I thought it was attached to that screen for some reason.
No.
Yeah. So, name is Shenan. I work as a coach. I work with all kinds of people, from entrepreneurs and leaders to people in addiction, youth, families, and I enjoy hiking and kayaking and golfing. And I think that's who I am right now.
Everybody's saying hello, and you's on. Alicia's saying hi. Everybody's saying say hi to the people.
Hello.
This
people.
is live.
Thank you very much for joining us.
They're beautiful people. They're smart people. So you can't fool us, Shenan.
I will not.
You can't fool us.
I will not even attempt.
So what brings you here today? Like what's your story? I know you did an event recently.
Yes.
So what was that for? Let's discuss the South. It moves. You can move it
Everywhere.
literally.
No, okay. Perfect. All right.
Do whatever you need to do.
Perfect.
It's so yeah. Speak about it. It was the South Asian Addictions Foundation.
Correct.
So what's that about?
So the South Asian Addictions Foundation is a nonprofit organization that was started by Jasmine Sajan and Randy Sahota. Excuse me. And basically they started that foundation because they were seeing a lot of that going on in the South Asian community, obviously, right now. They're struggling with addiction. And they just really wanted to help, like genuinely go, you know what, we need to put some support in there and help the people that are going through what they're going through, help the families that don't know how to support the family members that might be going through it. And so it became something that just formed into a foundation. I think it was just last August, so it's barely a year old. Now, when I joined them, they basically invited me saying, you know, we know your story, we know what you've been through, would you come and share it? And so I said, yeah, I'd love to do that. I have my own ways of working with people. Would you be okay with me bringing that? And they loved it. They said, yeah, let's do an event.
Shenan, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. You need to talk into the mic.
Okay, right there, yeah?
Yeah, it's got to be straight on. I know it's a little awkward, but while you talk, I'm going to try to mess around with your level so that you're... The problem is live. Everybody has different tones of speaking. So a lot of the times I have a mic already geared to Dustin and he's very deep and the mic could really pick him up. But when you have someone like Shenan who's really soft spoken and you know, when you get back here, the mic has trouble picking it up. So yeah, I'm just going to try to.
That's totally cool. I like that. I am soft spoken now. I wish you met me 10 years ago and I would be, how's it going, Daniel? What do you want from me?
That's good. You should be fine now. It should be good.
Okay.
But chat will let me know. They'll hate me. So, see, yeah, they're saying he needs to speak up.
Totally cool.
Thank
totally
you.
Cool.
He should sound a lot better now.
Right.
So yeah, how did you get involved with them? Because I know it's not you that started the company.
Correct.
So, and I hope to get her on the show eventually too.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, she's awesome, man. You would love to speaking with her. She's very, very inviting, gentle, and just wants to learn and help.
So what's your how'd you get involved with it? And then what's your what do you bring to that table? Like what's your experience?
Yeah, so good question. Like I was saying, I got involved with them because they basically approached me and said, "Would you share what you know and what your experience has been, and the kind of work that I do right now with people in addiction?" And so I said, "Let's create some events, and I'd be happy to share what I know." So that's basically how those events got started, and we just wanted to bring in some understanding and light. Right? It's not about we know what's going on and we'll fix you. It's more like, let's explore this direction together. We're all going to learn. We learn from people by them sharing their experiences. Of everyone's experience is so different, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll bring what we know that has worked. That doesn't mean it's going to work for everyone, but it's sort of an exploration.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the word exploration because it's not a teaching, it's an exploration, right? It's kind of like saying, let's you and I both look at the ocean and learn together what we can learn from the ocean versus let me tell you what I know about the ocean, and then we'll hear what you have
that's
to say.
That's often how people.
Yeah.
It's weird because a lot of people when they do talk, like instead of you trying to talk about you, right? And I find this happens in a lot of interviews, and I'm going to kind of break character as to what you need to do, but they often start to relate it to, oh, but I. Right? It almost seems like what you're trying to do is you need to look beyond yourself and work together to figure out something that benefits everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly it. And, I will add that it's very, very natural for us to do what about me or what I, and, related to our own experience. So there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that what we're looking for is what's more helpful in a more effortless way. Mm-hmm. And if there is something, let's explore it. Right? So that's how I got involved with them. And you asked a little bit of my experience.
Yes.
So,
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll try and keep it brief.
We could go all night. I don't care.
Okay, cool.
All night.
All right. So experience is, I work as a coach, like I said. I've been doing that for almost 6 years. It'll be 6 years in May, which I'm very happy about. I'm pleased that I have been growing in such amazing ways. It's been such a learning curve. And before that, I used to own a Tim Hortons.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I got a question about that. But
Sure.
continue. I got a question about that after.
Sure. So as a Tim Hortons owner, I was about 2 years in as an owner, but I, kind of worked my way up from working at a Tim Hortons in all the positions. And I was just really driven. I wanted my own business, and I was a driven guy with blinders on that I'm going to get my own business. It doesn't matter what anybody says, and I'm going to go for it,
Yeah, that ruthless aggression.
Yeah, it was. It was like this. It was appearing as a ruthless aggression, but it was like this insecure aggression. After I get a Tim Hortons, I'll feel this way. After I get a Tim Hortons, I'll be this way. It's like, no, you can be that right now. But I didn't see that. So I kind of went and got that. And, like I said, 2 years in, I started to really realize, there's something missing in my life and I just don't know what it is. Mm-hmm. I got to start investigating that. And that's when my inner journey started. I started looking inwards and going, what is it that's missing? Because if you look outside, it doesn't seem like anything's missing. Places making over $2 million a year, have a penthouse suite, have a couple of cars, like parents are proud. Well,
that goes back. Dustin and I were discussing that this pandemic, and we'll talk about that a little bit too, what you think about it. But I feel like in this time that we're putting way too much value on the currency and what we have, instead of, which I'm assuming is getting to your point, you're going to start seeing what's around you. Like what does that mean to me? What value inside me? Like what's the value inside of me?
Yeah.
That's real.
Yeah.
I assume that's what you're.
Yeah. It's the same direction. It is like, in my experience, when I started to see that, I started to see that by, how they say your soul speaks to you, and if you don't listen to it, it will scream.
Yeah.
Right?
I do.
That's kind of what was going on with me. It was like, man, there's this little whisper, this gentle whisper saying that you're not aligned with this work. And I wasn't listening. So it became louder and louder and more uncomfortable. And so I hired a coach, right? That's how I got into coaching. And he started to really ask me some questions that were extremely powerful and intimate. And one of them was, what do you value?
Oh, actually, live TV people. Dustin, I don't mean to bug you, but can you grab me the magazine? Yes, because he's featured in our Close Look magazine on page 16. He talks about core values. You might have to bug Simi. He'll bring it in just take off the headphones and put it down for a sec. Just find Simi and then get her to give you one. But yes, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No problem.
I just wanted it because I could have just. Yeah.
Right.
Anyway,
So what I discovered through that process of powerful questions was that when he asked me, "What does success mean to you?" That was one of the questions. Now I looked at him like, "Success, money, duh. What does it mean to you?" Next question.
That's what I mean, though, right?
Yeah.
Because you weren't looking at it as.
I wasn't looking at it as a holistic approach, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't, to me, it didn't mean relationships were healthy and connected. Health was doing well. Contribution is in your consciousness and you're mindful about it. Self-care, leadership, none of that was there. Success? Oh, that equals money. What's the next question?
So
there it is.
this is the story that you could find in the Close Look magazines. I'm gonna try to get into a close. This is what you get for doing everything on your own, Shenan. This is the story. It's in the magazine for that just recently came out. You can find it in here. I'm just showing it to you. You could go out, find it in newsstands, really anywhere, and I'm gonna get him to elaborate on it. But first I'm gonna ask a ridiculous question. Yeah. So with that being said, you said you worked at Tim Hortons.
Correct.
I am hearing tons of horror stories about Tim Hortons right now.
Okay.
And I don't know if you agree with them or not. I mean, I don't expect you to really go in depth with them. I just want to hear your opinion. Okay, but I know they're not there's a lot of rumors saying that they don't treat their workers well. And that because a lot of them, I mean, the 2 locations that are in New West are terrible service. There's only like 1 or 2 people ever working on either one of those locations. And one's at New West Station. Mm. So are they franchised by different people?
Yeah.
So is that why it could be that some are worse than others?
Yeah. So it could be a lot of things. And yes, to answer your question in a very direct way, it does depend on the location. It's not, Tim Hortons, the brand. It's the person who owns it that might have some issues. Now, that being said, there might be management issues. There might be a shortage of staff. There might be not enough attention on the staff members there. There might be a death in the family when you went. I don't know, right? Like there's so many things to consider that if there is a consistency of a place being not up to par, not aligned, not in harmony with what standards are, if you talk to the owner, if you talk to the manager, you will get far.
Okay. I'm just curious. I was just throwing it out there.
No, that's been my experience.
Because it's been on the news and everything about Tim Hortons and that chain.
No, I know. I've heard so many things. Like I've been out of that game 2013, so 7 years now.
So it's past its prime.
My opinion has little value now because the company has shifted in so many directions. I don't even know what's going on in there.
All right, back to. So actually, you're the perfect person to talk about this crisis. If you want to call it a crisis, what's your take on it? Like, do you feel like maybe we overreacted? Do you feel like it's underreacted? Like, where's your stance on this?
Such a good question. I've been getting a lot of people asking me that lately, and here's what I'm seeing about it. There is what's going on, and then there's what we think about what's going on.
Yeah,
and those are 2 different worlds, right? And what I see is that. The facts are that there is a virus. Mm-hmm. It's a deadly virus. That's a fact. But there's also other facts, like the fundamentals are not affected. Agriculture is not affected. There's no shortage of supplies.
Yep.
The world's markets are good. But because somebody would somebody would close something, like for example, NHL is canceled. So everyone's like, oh my God, I've never in my lifetime experienced that. I've experienced games canceled, never the whole league.
We're shutting it down.
Right? But here's what I see what's going on. People are reacting to the precautions and the prevention measures that are being taken. They're not reacting to facts.
Absolutely, I agree.
Right? But also the prevention measures that are taken, they're good that they're taking those prevention measures. Mm-hmm. People are reacting it as if they're bad. Like oh my God, the world is ending. NHL's closed. Well, for some people, you know,
To
I've
me,
seen
it
some pretty
doesn't-
funny
it's
memes
not-
around
it's
that.
not
It's like day 2, no sports. Notice that my wife's eyes were brown. Wow. I was like, okay, this guy is totally.
I love that. Hang on. There we go. I love that. Okay, go ahead.
There's some humor out there, you know. But yeah, that's my take. It's like if we start to look beyond what we think about it, what our reactions are, we start looking at facts, we're gonna do pretty good with it. We're gonna do pretty good with it because the facts are that there's no shortage of supplies or food, which are the 2 most important things.
It's really not. I mean, Dustin and I have been. Did you hand sanitize before
I did.
coming out? You did?
I
Okay,
did.
good. I just got to make sure.
I did. No. Again, the virus is real too, so you got to be careful. Self-isolation is a very good idea right now.
Yeah.
You know, grab some wine, some books, whatever you're
Oh,
into.
I like that. See,
hang out.
that's what we should be after. Wine, beer. Get your good book and Audible book.
Audible
Just
books, paper books, whatever you're into. You know,
Looking for a sponsor, Audible.
wise
So
time.
yeah, go ahead. So you just think it's crazy. You don't think there's an underlying tone to all this. You don't think that it was because it's man-made disease. It's a man-made disease.
Yeah.
So do you think like the millennials were just like, hey, we need our own disease for the next couple of years, and this is what we came up with, or?
Well, I don't know. I think, like, you know, I'm result-based focused. So it's like, okay, if you want a good result out of it, you got to look at the facts. Because if we want a good result out of anything, it very rarely comes from our thinking. If we
It's
take
true.
our assumptions for facts,
Because we put
We're
emotion
distorted.
and everything
Yeah.
into it, yeah.
we put our emotions in it, we project our past conditional thinking into it, and we kind of distort the facts. And then we make a decision based on that. It never really turns out well. I mean, my life is a great example of that in both directions.
I like that segue. Let's go back to your life. Now,
Sure.
I know that you were talking to Simi, and I don't know if
Yeah.
you want to discuss it. Can I discuss some of the previous?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Anything.
Okay.
Anything.
So you were, when you were younger, prior, I'm sure before Tim Hortons?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So you were in gangs. I say in gangs like it's a brand. You just jump and ship everywhere. How does one? I mean, I asked this, but I feel like we kind of have the same boat in the beginning of our young age. How does one become a part of this? Like, how does one even? I feel like sometimes it's by accident, like that you fall into stuff. So
Yeah. So first of all, I hope that you're not asking because you want to join. No, I'm just joking.
actually, I didn't even think that through. Yeah, no,
How does one get involved?
That's not.
Shenan?
That's everything. He is just. Gangs are not something one should thrive to be a part of. They're often people that will exploit and use and are very selfish people, like the higher ups. I don't know about the peons, but yeah, go ahead, continue. Go ahead.
No, you're right. It's not something that will lead to a functional, happy, gentle, fulfilling life. It's just not. And if it did, great, but it's not. So if somebody wants a proper life where they don't have to look over their shoulders, I don't recommend that path.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. I was involved in the lifestyle. I wouldn't say gangs particularly because it wasn't a specific gang, but it was gang-related world.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And what that really means is that I was involved with all kinds of things that go in that world, from drug dealing to doing drugs to being around people in that environment to being around people that are in gangs to whatever you can think of that a gang does or a gang-related world is of, I was involved in. And how I got to that. So to answer your question, there's so many ways people fall into it. Now, I'll speak to it 2 ways because I've discovered so much in reflection of that to see how where my fall was invisible. You know, you could tell the visible parts of why I fell off, but the invisible is really hard to catch. So the visible part of it was I was getting bullied a lot in school, 11 years of age, 12 years of age, until 13. And when 13 came around, I kind of started fighting back, and I heard it from others, you know, yeah, man, stand up for yourself. Good for you. I was like, ooh, this is something people like. Let's get into more fights. And I got into more fights and kind of led from that on, you know, felt the school teachers, the school itself, the system did not understand me. So I went this way and not that way. And before I knew it, I was heavily involved. By the time I was 15, I dropped out and was fully blown involved after that. I don't know how much detail you want around that.
It's I do want you on more, so I think we're gonna just leave it at a little bit of that because I want to tease or sprinkle.
Sure, we can
Sprinkle on.
do more next time. But if I can,
Go ahead. Yeah.
If I can add just the invisible part.
Yep. No, go ahead.
Right?
We got time. I'm just saying stop there, but let's go a little bit. Yeah,
Sure.
go ahead.
Okay. So the in reflection, what I seen was that the invisible part of me that assisted me in that incorrect direction, so to speak, was that I wasn't so aware that I have the ability to think, and I was more interested in what I was thinking.
Now, is that, I'm not trying to take away, I'm leading to your point, but I don't mean to sound, how old are you?
Now I'm 37.
Okay, so 32, 37. The school system, I feel like even when I was in school, is drastically different than what it is now.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine yours. I mean, schools aren't geared to giving people a personality, so to say, like your own personality. You come to school, we give you homework, you got to do that homework and survive in our society from 8 to 3 or whatever it may be, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like there's not a lot of room to grow when you say the inner, because a lot of those inner things get kind of shoved to the side because, one, we're not taught to think like that, and two, we just got to go with the flow. Otherwise, you're seen as this weird thing that shouldn't be here. So I don't, yeah. So school structures, I feel like, is the first issue with all that stuff. But
Absolutely. The school structure is, again, you got to look at it fundamentally, and you can see it across the board, right? The school structure needs to be changed. It's old. The paradigm needs to be changed. And so you're right. That's one of the issues. The second piece is that in my understanding from what I've learned is that the teachers themselves are not educated. We cannot blame them because they're not educated on who they are. How are they going to bring it to us?
True.
So the investment needs to shift there. I mean, we as a society invest so much of our attention, time, energy, money to entertainers. Why wouldn't we become like entertainers? Everything is
that's so
towards
true.
that, right?
Instagram, TikTok.
Yeah.
It really, okay.
It's like, wow, Brad Pitt. Imagine people going, oh my God, Mrs. So-and-so. Have we put her on a pedestal instead.
That's true. Fair.
Society would be different.
It would be. I never even thought of it that way. Yeah. It'd be cool if we, but doesn't that go under like influencers? Like influencers kind of fall under that term. But
I've noticed that, as a society, as a collective society, whether it's, you take Vancouver itself, for example, or Canada as a society, or take North America as a society. So as we zoom out, we can add more. Like you can take it as the Western world and Eastern world, as we zoom out. And you see there's different thought schools. The Eastern world is so focused, they are so used to, it's habitual for them to include spirituality and connection in everything that they do. In India, they do meditation and yoga from grade 1. That's integrated into their school system. Thailand, that's the case too. Here, not so much. That's not even a thing.
Well, because in North America, I feel like, and again, this is going to sound, my opinions are mine. They don't reflect Shenan's. They don't reflect CloseLook. But I really feel like, in my opinion, that school and stuff are just to gear society to be a sheep. You are to do what we need you to do, go on working your life, and then when you outlive your usefulness, hit the bricks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't be an individual. Don't think. Don't be different. We don't want that. That's how I felt. I mean, that's how I felt like through high school and elementary.
I don't think
like
you're
that, so.
very far off. Like, the system is set up that way. And, maybe there's an underlying agenda at play. Like, we can always speculate, and it definitely looks
there's
like
always
that.
conspiracy theories, yeah.
There always is, right? And it doesn't feel that they're far from the truth. But again, it is a speculation at the end of the day if you're not the one involved in it, right? But having said that, the next question that comes to mind, or the ones that I face usually, are like, how do you combat that? Let's change the system. Let's do this. Let's fight the system.
Ooh,
right?
I like that. How do we fight the system?
How do we fight the system? Well,
how?
one of the most intriguing questions I've ever been asked where I've completely went blank and got stuck on was, let's fight for peace. How do we do that? And I went, fight, peace?
Yeah, no,
what?
it's not.
It doesn't go together, you know?
Yeah.
So I personally have seen that in my own world, in my clients' lives, and the people's lives that I've worked with, understanding is the way to go. The more we understand the school system, the more we understand how we can approach it, the more we understand how teachers are not equipped, the more we understand, we can come up with gentle invitational ways that are unified, that can actually go beyond the system in a gentle way. You don't need to fight through it.
I agree. No, I agree. But people have a problem understanding, Shenan.
Yeah.
It's been my experience that I often am the person that will throw himself under the bus for the collective good of others, right? But I find that when you do talk about fighting for peace, I know those two words don't go together, but you're not going to find a lot of people stepping over for strangers or stepping over for the little man, so to say.
Yeah.
So how do you even become to start something like that? I mean, you just want us to become Gandhi and just wear a diaper and throw a sheath over?
Well, you know, diapers are high value right now because the toilet papers are out.
This is
So
true.
not a bad idea.
Dustin could just throw me the toilet paper there. I'll just wrap it around.
So work smart, guys, not work hard, you know? Stock up on diapers instead. No, I don't say that. It's not a one or the other. It's, you know, I think it's a holistic thing. It's for me, it's not. Why I don't say fight is because it hasn't worked and it takes a lot of effort and it actually creates more division.
It does.
You know, you might be transcending this level, but you're creating division on another level. So you're perpetuating something with fights. Maybe it's because I've just fought too much in my life and I don't want to fight anymore.
I know, it gets tiring, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
I
It's
just,
exhausting.
you know, at some point, even lying,
Yes.
like it just, at some point I'm like, I'm just too
You're done
tired
with
to
it.
think about this.
Exactly.
Like,
Or
yeah.
playing a role. You know, I played a lot of roles in my life that were inauthentic, and that gets exhausting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. See, I understand you. I get you,
Yes,
Shenan.
we understand each other.
That's it. We're just going to
getting
throw
somewhere.
inside jokes or inside talk to each other. Dylan did say something. So did Alicia. Alicia said wisdom from elders is also important to Eastern world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree.
Dylan said this was to our school comment, and avoid seeing potential and looking inwards for purpose. Yeah. No participate in the system or not a participant in the system. I think he's saying his own individual self, but yeah. But I mean, like, not everybody, it takes, when you involve yourself in these types of people, these gangs, they're almost like schools in themselves. They don't want you to think. They don't want you to really go against the grain. They want you to do what they want you to do, and then it goes. So how did your story go?
Well, I'm sitting here, so I'm alive.
Here.
That was a good thing. You know, you're right. Gangs are a system of their own, just like a school is, just like a government is.
Like a
Government doesn't
government.
want you to think either, right?
It's
In
even
some
worse.
ways.
But
But what I have seen in my own experience of being around people like that is, number one, no one's born a gangster,
that's true.
right? And that's quite something profound to understand, because your approach shifts. These people are hurting. Hurt people, right? And that when people start to get more mindful about that, their approach does change. When they're not mindful about that, it's like, oh my God, we got to get those gangsters off the streets. Let's kill them. You know, at the end of
Turfs
the
and
day.
everything.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now that's a perspective from the outside. When we look at somebody going, wow, I'm more interested in how you got in it versus what you're doing in it. Context changes. The second piece is, when you're in it, obviously the system is cured that way, that the people are mean and they will take advantage of you and manipulate you to their own benefits and their own profits. But that's what the system is. I mean, isn't the government like that in some ways?
Subliminal messaging. Yeah.
They do it politely with suits on. We did it with tattoos on. I don't know.
Real quick, so I don't mean to interrupt you.
Sorry, that was bad political
No,
comment.
that's
I
not a
won't go
bad
there.
political pun at all. We welcome that at Sweet Culture. Bad political puns? Well, anyways, Dustin he's messaging me. We are at the 58-minute mark, but that's not, I'm going to keep the show going because Dustin and I did have technical difficulties in the beginning, and I do want to talk to you more. I don't feel like I have enough time. So we are going to stretch it out a little bit. I am not looking at the questions right now. I am coming back. Shenan, might be a personal question. Is it okay if I ask?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Anything.
He's giving me yes, and it's consented. She says here, Shenan, how did you exit the gang? It's hard for members to leave sometimes because the backlash and consequences of exit. Now, before you answer that, because I don't want you to answer that.
Okay.
I still want you to discuss how one ends up in it. I know there's plenty of ways that someone ends up in it, and then before we end, we'll get to that. Don't worry, Alicia. I hear you.
Stay tuned. So how I got involved. So I'll say how I got involved and how I've seen other people get involved.
Yeah, that's what I meant. There's many ways. I just want,
Right.
What you,
How I got involved was basically, I became so insecure around whatever environment I was in because I was getting bullied. I started hanging around with people that were not bullying me, that were skipping school, that were doing things when you do, what you do when you skip school. And it was a very subtle way to get involved. Now, when I started hanging out with people that were skipping school, I started to find out why they're skipping school. And guess what? It was kind of similar situation. They were immigrants. They were being treated differently. They spoke differently. They dressed differently. Now I was in relation to them more than I was in relation to the school people. And I was like, these are my people. And then that morphed into, what do we got? What are we going to do? We're skipping school. Well, let's go steal some chocolate bars. Well, that'll give us a rush.
I love that that's your go-to.
It was like I used to steal Twix bars from
Twix?
Walmart. Yeah, Twix is my favorite.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
We can't be friends now. Coffee crisp.
I love Twix
Go ahead.
still to this day. And then that went into, stealing cars. That's a rush. Now, again, visible part, stealing cars and then doing drugs and then selling drugs and then getting involved in gang-related life after dropping out of school. All visible. Invisible part was there's a drive inside of me because I'm a teenager and I have all this exuberant and energy that wants to express itself and it doesn't know how. Doesn't know how. Yeah. Excuse me. And if that energy is put into a direction, it will express itself. So if I was put into sports, I would be a star at sports. If I'm put into gangs, I'll be starting gangs.
So why not go into sports?
Well, I was just tickled this way, I guess,
Okay.
because, I related with the immigrants. And I mean, if parents are conscious that this is what's happening, they could direct their kids into sports consciously. My parents were working 12 hours a day. They weren't really around.
Exactly. Actually, that was going to bring me to my next point. Do you feel like, and I know this is going to sound really general, and I'm not trying to make it general, but even when I was part of this world, it was mostly South Asians, East Indians, and stuff like that were doing these things. It wasn't a lot of, I'm white, just to let everybody know. There wasn't a lot of same skin tone as I have.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that this is a cultural thing, or have you seen just as much of other races than? Yeah, I'm just curious. I'm not trying to,
No, you know what's funny? I wasn't around any brown people. My best friends are all white.
Oh,
yeah.
Opposite. I think we went to the wrong.
We replaced each other.
Yeah, we replaced each other.
So it is everywhere. I've seen it in Mexican cultures, Italian cultures, Croatian cultures, gang-related activities, drug-related activities. They are a supplement for something else that we're not visiting inside of ourselves. That's what it comes down to. That's where the real change has to happen. Identify what you're running from, and you can stop it there instead of trying to fix it after you get involved in it.
Yeah, no, I agree. This is something that maybe it was the area. I was in Surrey, so Surrey is a heavy.
Right now, Surrey and Abbotsford. I mean, I go into schools and speak, and I work with police officers alongside. I shouldn't say with, but alongside.
You are.
Right.
He's undercover, isn't he? No, I'm joking. I'm not. I'm not outing anybody. Go ahead.
No, trust me. When I had the opportunity to work with a cop, I went, "All right, let's do this." Wait a second, this might be a setup. So those habitual thinking patterns still kick in. No, but obviously right now, within the last few years, and even in the 90s, Surrey and Abbotsford has a big issue. So it seems right now that it's a South Asian culture thing, but it's all cultural thing. It's an all culture thing. I would really encourage if people are interested in looking in this direction more, there's an organization called Homeboy Industries. Have you heard of them?
Homeboys, I don't know, but Dustin's going to look it up and put it in chat for a link.
Homeboy Industries. It's run by
Homeboy
Father Greg
Industries.
Boyle, and it's in LA. And he has taken the hardest tattooed Mexican gang.
I love those stories. I love watching those.
They are becoming chefs and cooks and doing degrees. He does that for them. And if you just watch his journey, read his book, he's doing incredible things. And the reason I pointed there is because, again, it's not culture. It's in every culture. It's the activity. The activity is a supplement for something else that's deeper.
Sorry, I was just looking at the screen. I thought I saw something.
No problem. Well, I hope that answers your question, though.
Acceptance or wholeness or even lack of meaning. It's easy to follow a crowd. That's really
Absolutely.
true.
Yes.
And
Yes.
like you were saying, it's because you had so much energy that you just put it towards whatever you were
Whatever's in
relating
front
to
of
at the
me.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. No, I did that too. I did it to fit in. It was, it was almost the same path. I was bullied
Yeah.
until I started fighting back, and I'm like, hey, this kid could be, I don't know if they thought it that way, but hey, this kid could be useful. I know it's weird to think, do you ever get the look, like often if someone cares to listen to my story, they're like, really, you were part of that world? Like, you don't seem that way. I'm like, yeah, but I barely got out, and it really forces you to, that's where I look at priorities so much different. When I talk to people, I often try to think 10 steps ahead. Like, if I say it in this way, how's this person going to react to me saying it in this way? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, that habituals start to kick in, and I feel like that's mine, because I don't want to make confrontation. I try to make everybody as happy as I can.
Yeah.
And so I want to try to say what causes the less ripple effect to go through, because I've seen what consequences do if you're not careful. If you're only thinking about yourself, there's always consequences that you aren't thinking about that will happen down the line. So
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And that points a lot to my own experience. I can relate to that, where I'm so caught up in trying to form something before the way it looks that I'm less involved in reality. So I'm less likely to make decisions that are based on facts. It's kind of like what we talked about the coronavirus. We're so caught up in our thinking, we're reacting to that. We're not reacting to facts anymore. It's
more fun that way.
It's definitely more entertaining, but there's a lot of things to fix after.
There's a lot.
Trauma business thrives, or trauma counseling, I should say, thrives. I was going to say, I'm really curious about your story, and I would love to hear that one day.
Well, that we don't have enough time for that, because we do have to get to your question.
Well, maybe you can come to one of our events and share.
I would love to. Not a lot of people know of my story. I try to not discuss it because it is a real downer. It's not as wholesome. I feel like when people do see me and when they do talk about it, it's not something they expect. So they kind of churn off and get I don't know. They seem disinterested because it's too real sometimes. I feel like, and that's where I also start to understand humans. And that's why I like talking to them. Often I'm the person that will observe them, because I find that people have a really unnecessarily short attention span. All right. So anyways, I want to get to Alicia's question.
Yes, let's
We're
do
going
it.
to jump to the end of the whole, we're just going to fast forward. How did you get out? What was your aha moment? I cannot do this anymore. This is bad.
Yeah.
What was your moment that you got out?
So mine was when I was 23 years of age, and I was, drinking and partying at a club, and which was a thing of mine to do all the time. Had a bunch of money to blow at the club. You wore Versace and Armani gear, and you're going out spending money. And I was there, and I got a call at about 2 a.m., and it was my brother. And he said, our house has been shot up. What should I do? So there were 6 shots fired in the home of my parents' house. They were inside. My brother was inside. The neighbors were there. And, when I got that call, I started heading home. I was stuck in the bushes for a while. As I called home, my dad was saying, don't come here. there's a bunch of cops here. Obviously, they know it's you. They know your lifestyle. So I was forced to go into the bushes because there's lights everywhere, sirens everywhere. I was like, I'll just go into these bushes. I was stuck there for 4 hours. And that was the blessing in disguise. That was my aha moment to go, I'm stuck here for 4 hours to think about what my life has come to. And I started to think many things that woke me up. One of them was, did my parents really raise me to bring this to their house? It might not shameful. Like,
I know that feeling.
be real. The second thing is, are you really a gangster? Do you really want to continue this? Because this can go pretty far. This is how far it has come. And the third thing is, there is a sliver of a chance. If you act now, you can move in the direction of getting out. If you do retaliate and you think you're tough, then you can go in that direction. I chose the first one.
It's good that you did, because like, it must have been the shame for the family thing. I totally get that. You got to start thinking about, I mean, do you have brothers, sisters?
Yeah, I have an older brother.
Yeah. Oh, right. You just mentioned, Daniel, listen. So yeah, you have a brother. So clearly he wasn't in the same world as you were.
No.
So you had to have thought of like, oh, how can this have repercussions to my dad, my family? And I get that. No, I get that. With that being said, are we going to see you again?
Absolutely, man. I really enjoyed this conversation. I'd love to do many more.
Good. I'm glad. I hope that we skimmed over just enough to keep you salivating
Engaged
for more.
There's already some people who would like to hear more.
Yes, I'm seeing that right now. Thanks for coming out. Dylan says thank you. Alicia says thank you. Everybody's really saying thank you for coming out.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for listening and being here.
With that being said, our time here. So long, farewell, Avita, say goodnight. Simi's joining us in house. She's, no, I'm just gonna, no, I'm joking. I would just like to say thank you. We will have Shenan on an upcoming show of Omni. He's going to be on there discussing with Simi, kind of Hindi-ish, kind of. Also, yes, actually, thank you. Simi just held up a sign. So if you would like to, again, Dustin did specify, but if you would like to watch us, or not really watch us because we're not that good looking.
Hey, speak for yourself, man. No, I'm joking.
You can find us on any Audible platform, Spotify, Google, iTunes. Just put in Close Look Podcast. Remember the podcast, because Close Look is an umbrella of things. There's tons of things under it. You could find us right there. You'll see the episodes all from 1 to episode 8. And of course, we have a new show that will be we're more predominant on Thursdays, called TLC, which is hosted by Simi. I was going to say Alicia and Simi. And a bunch of other strong-willed women. It's fun. So yeah, with that being said, Dustin will ring us out. Hang on, Dustin. Let me turn on your mic. Go ahead.
Am I live?
You are really loud. Sorry.
Am I super loud?
You are good.
This program is sponsored by Surrey Honda on 152nd and Fraser Highway. For the latest deals and excellent service, check out surreyhonda.com.
Thank you, Dustin. And with that being said, I hope everybody has a fantastic quarantine week. I'll see you next Sunday at 7 p.m. right here on Close Look on Facebook with Dustin, Alicia.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys.
Have a great night. I love you all.